Hey everybody, Economic Ninja here. When I tell you I have the greatest subscribers on earth, I couldn't be more honest with you. I'm here with Chris. Chris came out to the Dallas, you live in Texas, right?
Yes.
Pretty close to the Dallas event.
Yes.
But he actually just flew out to the Silver Symposium in Coeur d'Alene, and we've been hanging out all weekend. And I wanted to bring his story to you because, well, we're just gonna dive right into it. How you doing, Chris?
I'm really well. It's great to be on the #1 YouTube channel.
You're way too kind to me. So I have a story right now that some subscribers, they're nurses and they're losing their jobs soon. They're being faced with losing their jobs because of all these horrible scenarios that are happening. And they said, hey, can you put some different ways you can make money? Now, I can guarantee you they're probably going, this wasn't what I was thinking. But I think it's a great idea to talk about what you do and how you did it, because you're an industry leader, but in a different kind of way. So what do you do?
So I work in digital accessibility, and what that means is making websites, mobile apps, and other digital assets accessible to people with disability. Now, I'm also an attorney, so that has helped me with having a legal background, because ADA compliance is what's driving this current move. It's not that we don't need accessibility, but right now what's pushing it is private litigation. So with that, an industry has arisen.
Yeah. So, okay, so a bunch of people's eyeballs are rolling back in their head right now. They're going, what are you talking about? When I think about accessibility for handicapped people, I think of ramps, I think of handrails, things like that. But you're talking about website accessibility. So you're saying there is actually laws in the books that make it to where if a website does not have certain things, like let's say like the size of font or something like that, they could actually get in trouble.
Well, so that's exactly it. That's where everything happens, is because there's a lot of gray area in the US, because on the books, if you look at the Americans with Disabilities Act, there's no actual formal prescription on what you need to do.
Yeah.
But the spirit of the ADA carries forward that. And so under Title III of the ADA, places of public accommodation, they have to make accommodations, they have to be accessible. So now going forward, like it's the way the Title III of the ADA is being interpreted is that websites and mobile apps need to be accessible.
So this is why I think it's so important actually for my viewers, because we always talk about like things that are coming in the future and how to be prepared for them, right? And for anybody that has a company that has a website, I guarantee you the last thing you want to do is change up the website. You want to add things, the last big push on websites was the cookies thing, right? Mm-hmm. And that was the law. Hey, you need to do this by a certain date or you can get in trouble. And it was a pain in the butt. But what's even worse is if you don't know something and then all of a sudden you're sort of hit with a surprise, right? And that's why I think it's super important, because people have the choice. They can, do the best job possible and do the most that they can, or they can keep, sort of sliding by. But isn't it important to know ahead of time?
Oh yeah, and there are so many, it's not just large companies, it's small business owners, entrepreneurs too, that are being completely caught off guard by this. They don't see it coming. And so all of a sudden one day they get a demand letter or a complaint filed against them in court, and they're like, well, what is this? I didn't even know about this.
Yeah, and so there's some things in life we can't change, right? But it's good to know them ahead of time so you can do something about it. So where I want to talk about you being an industry leader, because you said a great thing where you're not really good at this or that, but you're good at it when it's together. So explain that.
Exactly. And so I'm not the most knowledgeable on the Americans with Disabilities Act, nor am I know the most about accessibility, technical accessibility. But when you combine the two, I know more than anybody else on both fields. So
that's where, like the story of the nurses that are losing their jobs and they're going, what do we do? What are some wild ways we can make money? Here's an example of someone that says, look, I know this, but I'm not the expert here. I know this, but I'm not an expert over here. But there's nobody doing them together. That concept actually completely blew my mind, because if I look back on some of my hustles, that's really where I shined, because let's say when I was selling park models, I wasn't the best at selling park models, but I was really good at being able to get whatever I'm selling out on the internet. So if my buddy could identify a park model and fix it up, My job was to, be able to push it and market it. Well, putting those two things together, it was great, right? You could have a great product, but if you don't know how to sell it, it's crap. Yours is even different. You're like, I'm taking two industries, I'm gonna mesh them together. So I'm like, wow, that's really interesting. Now, it's interesting, these kind of topics are gonna push out a lot of frustration in people because people don't like change, right? Some things you can't change. And it sounds like the reason why you jumped into this is you saw, hey, there's gonna be a lot of people that are going to be in a lot of hurt or stress if they get hit with this. So why don't I just start a business that's just, hey, look, I can do this ahead of time and go down that path. Like, how much does it usually, and I'm not trying to, well, I am actually. You know what I said for many times, my goal is to make other people more successful than me? Well, that is exactly what I'm doing here. Because I'm gonna post a link to your information so that people can reach out to you. And you'd be reaching out to, if you're on this channel and you're a subscriber, you're actually reaching out to someone that thinks like you. So that's always nice.
Thank you.
Yeah. So how much does something like that cost to revamp someone's website to make sure that it's compliant?
Well, you would want to start off with a manual audit. And so a manual audit usually, like even for a simple website, like minimum would be $1,500.
Okay.
And then the remediation is really, it's a matter of how effective you can do that. If you get a good developer, it can usually be $125 to $150 an hour.
Okay.
So if you get someone who really knows what they're doing, you can dramatically cut down the cost, but it can be expensive if you don't know where to look.
Are you able to use the fact that you are now compliant with these, the spirit of the law, things like that, to gain or garner more business?
Well, so I can't even say someone would be compliant. It's like you're following best practices for compliance because it's not actually, nobody could actually, there needs to be a governing body that actually specifies what compliance is.
Gotcha.
So we can't say that, but we can follow best practices and we can make it extrememally likely that any litigation comes forth against us.
Dude, that's awesome. And that's what's really important is we have auto insurance because you don't think you're getting an accident, but you never know, right? And this is yet one more thing for a lot of companies. And I'm sure there's a lot of really large companies out there that are going, this is a no-brainer because why even do anything outside of the realm of, when changes are happening, it's like get ahead of that change, be on the cutting edge, And I think there's a lot of companies that could really possibly open up their minds to, are we even marketing to people with handicap?
Well, that's the thing is that your audience is so much larger than you may think, and you can really, it's not only, and the other thing is it's not only accessibility, it's usability.
Yeah.
When you have an accessible website, it makes using it so much easier.
That's a good point. That's actually a really good point because a lot of us get confused on websites and I get lost.
Yeah.
I guarantee you Chris has gotten lost back here. It's the way you get, I love it.
I mean,
where am I going on this thing?
It's a good opportunity to just take an evaluation of your website and get the website health up 100%.
Dude, that's awesome. Now you know me in the spirit of the economic ninja, these videos got to be short because everyone's like, oh my gosh, I've literally got to go somewhere. But in closing, you're up here at the Silver Symposium. We've been hanging out. Is there anything you wanted to share?
Yeah, I think. We hear a lot about investment opportunities, and there's so much to do. But then it's like, well, how right now it's more important than ever, right, to have cash so that you can take advantage of, because there's so much out there. And so I would say that there are so many opportunities when you start to look at splicing domains together or trying other platforms. I can tell you there's a lot of information that might be available on YouTube or within Google search, but is not available via podcast, right?
Okay.
So when you start looking in different areas and finding and looking at what's missing, you'll see there's a lot missing. This is, there's so much opportunity out there. It's anybody's game, really.
Yeah, you're right. It's awesome. Well, hey guys, thanks so much for joining us. Chris, you were awesome. Seriously.
Thank you so much,
dude. This has been epic. So, with that being said, guys, the Economic Ninja is out.